Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto is the reincarnation of Kenpachi. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. October 10th, it has been 6 years since the dreadful day that the Kyuubi attacked the Leaf Village. Konoha, the said to be strongest of the 5 great nations, was forced to endure the horror and terror that was the nine-tailed fox as it neared their homes and families. Many ninjas lost their life trying to stall the great beast, and many more lost limbs and would never be ninjas again. All hope was lost until the sight of Gamabunta, the Toad Boss summons, entered the battlefield with the youngest Hokage in Konoha history. The Yondaime, as he was publicly known, was already recognized as a living legend as he single-handedly killed hundreds of Iwa ninja during the Great Shinobi War with his signature jutsu, earning himself the name the Yellow Flash of Konoha. So seeing the man who had a flea-on-sight order against him raised many spirits and confusion when he ordered the rest of the ninjas to retreat. But it all became clear in the next 15 minutes as everyone watched Konoha's strongest ninja sacrifice himself in order to defeat the Kyuubi. It has been 6 years since Konoha lost the Yondaime and other good shinobi, and it has been 6 years since they learned of how he defeated the demonic fox. Sealing the troubled animal spirit into his apparent legacy, he left only 2 requests, the first stating that the child's name be Naruto Uzumaki and the second being that young Naruto be treated as a hero. It has been 6 years since that exact day, and for 6 years the villagers and ninja of Konoha spit on the grave of the Yondaime by disregarding his last words and treating the poor boy as he was death itself. For 6 years Naruto was beaten, stabbed, ignored, tortured and left to die on many occasions. So tonight the villagers and ninja alike will make their biggest mistake and instantly remember the words from their 4th Hokage exactly 6 years ago. Naruto Uzumaki, a young blonde-haired blue-eyed boy, was sitting in a corner of his disgusting one-room apartment celebrating his 6th birthday. He knew better than to go outside today, since if he did there would be no doubt that he would get one of the worst beatings he's ever had. Naruto silently wondered why he had the life that he lived. He was a regular kid, right? So what if he had 3 whisker marks on each cheek? He saw a kid that had upside-down red triangles on his cheek. How was he any different than him? Naruto thought it might have been his blonde hair, but that couldn't be cause he saw a whole family of pink-haired people that were treated better than him. Could it have been his blue eyes? No, there was another group of people that had no eyes at all, they only had pure white for eyes. Naruto thought that maybe it was because he had no parents, but remembered that he lived in a whole house for kids without parents like him, but they were all treated better than him and they got to eat. Naruto was very angry cause he couldn't figure out why he was hated so much. The only clue he got was when this silver-haired one-eye ninja beat him badly, and before he left he spit on Naruto and said, "That was for Sensei Demon." That was on Naruto's 4th birthday, and ever since that day that man would come every year for his birthday to beat on him. Last year he even brought friends like the guy dressed in all green that always hit the hardest and the man who cut him with the sword and was coughing all the time. There was even this black-haired lady with red eyes that made him see horrible stuff that wasn't there, but she only came with the guy that burned Naruto with the cigarette he was always smoking. But there was people that were nice to him, like the old man who called himself the Hokage and the man dressed in all black with scars all over his face. Also the purple-haired lady that scared off the mean people with the snakes she keeps in her coat. Naruto was very grateful for those 3 people and would remember their good deeds forever. A sudden noise brought Naruto to attention and he looked around only to see a rock on the floor surrounded by glass, which meant someone broke his window, again. Without hesitation Naruto ran into his rather plain room, shutting the door, and crawled under the bed listening to the sounds of more windows breaking and of course the sound of footsteps reaching his apartment door. Sooner than he would have liked, the villagers and ninja came storming into his only safe haven searching for him, and they found him only because they had one of those all-white eye people. So Naruto watched as the ninja kicked open his bedroom door and the villagers threw his bed to the side, exposing Naruto and making space for some good old Naruto bashing. As blows rained down upon Naruto, he curled into the fetal position out of pure reflex, crying his eyes out, but even though his vision was blurry there was no mistaking the blur of green coming towards him. He braced himself for the couple of hits that he knew were coming, and he was not disappointed as the first hit was a blow straight to the forehead. Feeling sleepy like he always does when the pain is too much, his last thoughts were, "At least I won't be awake," before he fell unconscious. When Naruto woke up, he realized he was laying on the floor of an all-white room, but before he could look around some more, a man and a woman came into his line of sight as they leaned over to look at him. The two adults stood back as Naruto sat up, taking a good look at them. The man and woman were obviously twins but were completely different, which made it easier to tell them apart. They both had regal-looking features and long hair which stopped at their shoulders, but the woman's hair was pure white while the man's hair was pitch black. They both had pale white skin and wore robes, the woman having a white robe held closed by a black string and the man a black robe held closed with a white string, but it was their eyes that captivated Naruto. The woman had the most piercing blue eyes, much like his own, while the man had almost evil-looking blood-red eyes that gave off a red glow. Gathering his courage, Naruto spoke, who are you?" The twins continued to stare at Naruto, making him fidget under their collective gaze. "Hello?" Naruto tried again. Finally the man took a step towards Naruto. "Are you Naruto Uzumaki?" He spoke in a deep baritone voice. "Yeah," Naruto replied, a little scared since people never treat him good if they recognized him. "Good, I can't even tell you how many times I brought up the wrong person or something like that," sighed the man, now visibly more relaxed. The woman giggled behind her hand. "Hello Naruto-kun, welcome," she spoke in the sweetest voice Naruto could imagine. "Well, who are you and where am I?" Naruto asked, still not sure of these people. Both twins stiffened, trying to look like royalty once more. "I am Kami," the woman spoke, then pointed to the man and said, "This is my twin brother Shinigami." Naruto stared at them with his mouth agape, but instantly Naruto's mouth closed and his face hardened, looking positively cute for a 6-year-old even though he was trying to be scary. "Sure, you're just one of those things that the red-eyed lady is making me see," he said with venom lacing his voice. The Shinigami looked confused and turned towards Kami for an explanation. Kami saw her brother's questioning gaze and leaned over to whisper in his ear, and when she was done the Shinigami had a look of anger and understanding in his eyes. "Listen mortal, you didn't see the woman tonight because she didn't invade your house with the others," spoke Shinigami, still being angry about what was happening. Naruto, being naturally stubborn, responded, "Yay, right, prove it." Kami was quick with her reply. "You have a crush on the purple-haired snake lady that you never told anyone about," she finished with a smile on her face. Naruto went wide-eyed. It was true that he had a crush on her since the first time she saved him, but he never said anything cause she might start hating him or something like that. "Okay fine, now you prove it," Naruto said, pointing at the Shinigami. The Shinigami sweat dropped. "I look just like her, that should be enough proof," he growled. "Shinny," Kami scolded, seeing Naruto back up from reflex when Shinny growled. Naruto laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his head. "Oh yeah, you're twins, so where are we?" Still not knowing where he was or the purpose of this visit. "We're in my private room," answered Kami, not really wanting to explain pocket dimensions to a 6-year-old. Okay, but what do you want with me?" Naruto replied, a little grateful that his questions were being answered, considering no one ever liked to speak to him, let alone answer his questions. At this question Kami smiled sadly at Naruto. "You have suffered too much for someone your age, Naruto, especially when it wasn't supposed to turn out this way," she said. Shinny nodded in agreement while Naruto looked on in confusion. "What do you mean?" Naruto curiously asked. "Well, originally you were supposed to be treated as hero and eventually grow up to be the greatest Hokage in history, but somehow the humans proved themselves once again to be the most ungrateful and spiteful creatures on this planet and ended up hating and mistreating you," said Kami, surprising Naruto with the amount of anger shown in her voice. But Naruto was still confused. "Why would I be a hero though?" Asking with genuine interest. Kami did not want to be the one who told him about the Kyuubi, so she turned around with pleading eyes toward her brother. Seeing her silently ask him to be the one to drop the bomb, Shinny turned towards Naruto and put it as bluntly as he could. "Because the Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi inside of you." Naruto's eyes went wide, finally knowing the reason why he was hated so much, and if anything it made him grow angrier, wondering why they would treat him like dirt if he saved them all. Kami, seeing Naruto's escalating anger, quickly explained. "The people were still frightened because of the Kyuubi, so when the announcement was made that you were the vessel for Kyuubi, their fear turned into hate since the fox was so close to them even though he was behind bars, so to speak. Also some of the more stupid people thought you were nothing but the reincarnation of said fox." She spoke in the sweetest voice she could muster, trying to calm the young living prison. It worked to some degree as Naruto visibly calmed down enough to ask the question that has been burning in his mind. "Why was I chosen?" Kami quickly looked at Shinny and he growled, knowing he would have to be the bringer of bad news once again, dismissing it as just one of the many tasks the god of death had to do, and being blunt as usual he dropped another bomb. Because you're his son and he only trusted his family with that amount of responsibility. Naruto was once again shocked, but it didn't faze him as much as you would think. Having a conversation with Kami and the Shinigami and then finding out he was the prison for the strongest tailed beast would basically make anyone immune to surprises. So instead Naruto just nodded while the small twinkle that resided in his eyes dulled, making him look lifeless. Kami, who noticed as life left from Naruto's eye, was going to say anything to try and cheer him up, but she was interrupted by Naruto's question. "You still haven't told me what you want with me?" His voice so emotionless that the twins couldn't even believe the sudden change. The Shinigami, wanting to deliver some good news for a change, quickly said, "We both want to take you away from Konoha for a couple of years to train you." Now that fazed Naruto as he quickly looked up with wide watering eyes and shakily asked, What? Kami sat down beside Naruto and put a comforting arm around Naruto. "We know we can never be your real parents, but maybe you could think of us as an aunt and uncle?" she said. Still shocked at the idea of having a family with these two gods, he could only stutter out, "Be you, but why?" Shinny, deciding to answer this question, spoke, "Because Naruto, at the tender age of 6 you've had one of the worst lives anyone can have, and since you have the Kyuubi sealed inside of you we are allowed to intervene." "Was my life really that bad? I always thought there was someone out there who had it worse than me," Naruto asked. "Actually there was another young demon vessel that had a life almost equal to yours," Kami stated. Naruto looked intently at Kami. "Then why me and not him?" he asked hotly. Shinny, not knowing why Naruto was angry that he was chosen, answered his question. "Well, while you live in a disgusting apartment, he lives in a mansion, and while you have experienced all types of pain, he has only gone through mental and emotional pain. Also, while you have no family at all, only having 3 strangers to care for you even though they could have tried harder, he has 2 siblings, an uncle and a father. So you have it worse." Naruto lowered his head and nodded in understanding. "Thank you so much for being my family," he said through muffled sobs. Kami just hugged him and Shinny ruffled his hair in a loving manner, but Naruto was startled by the sudden feeling of emptiness flowing through him. Looking up with urgency etched in his face, he saw that the twin gods had faces of utmost seriousness despite the loving moment he had just experienced. "Naruto, listen to me right now. When you wake up I want you to tell the old man to take you to his office, and when he does I want you to close your eyes and think about us and we'll be there to take you, okay?" said the Shinigami in a voice that he obviously used when he commanded the underworld. Naruto rapidly nodded, not wanting to argue with someone whose voice almost made you lose complete free will, but was inwardly thinking, "What does he mean when I wake up?" And with that thought Naruto knew exactly what Shinny meant as he felt himself disappearing. The last thing he saw was the twin gods waving at him. Naruto once again found himself waking up, but this time he felt like he awoke from a very deep sleep. Looking around the room he instantly recognized it as one of the hospital bedrooms that he has become accustomed to. While waiting for someone to come see him he thought to himself, was that just a dream? Could it have been real? Maybe the gods really do want me. Well, there's no harm in trying to do what the Shinny told me. Besides, if it doesn't work then I'll just never believe anything. Pretty simple, I guess. Nodding to himself as he finished his inner monologue, he continued to wait. After about 10 minutes the old man himself walked in with his pipe and robes, but before he could even open his mouth to speak Naruto cut him off, eager to see if his little dream was real or not. "Old man, take me to your office now." The old man, more publicly known as Sarutobi the Sandaime Hokage, was very surprised that Naruto was speaking to him in such a manner. Usually Naruto would greet him with an affection hug and hello, then they would talk about what happened, but this time he didn't even get a hello. Inwardly Sarutobi knew this day would come when Naruto would just turn off his heart to everyone, so sighing quietly he walked towards Naruto's bed, putting a hand on his shoulder. Of course Naruto, and used the body flicker technique to teleport to his office. When the after effects of the teleportation jutsu wore off, Naruto realized he was in the old man's office with said old man staring curiously. Seeing the old man about to speak he interrupted again with a short but firm, "Hold on." Ignoring the absolutely baffled expression the old man had on his face, Naruto closed his eyes and began to picture the twin gods in his mind with perfect detail from their hair down to their yin-yang style of clothing. Sarutobi watched as Naruto interrupted him again, only to close his eyes and put on the cutest face of extreme concentration. So as he readied himself to interrupt Naruto's little show that's been going on for 2 or more minutes, he grew very angry and a little fearful as he was interrupted yet again, but this time by 2 miniature whirlwinds that appeared on both sides of Naruto. There was some object swirling in the whirlwinds, and once Sarutobi got closer he saw that they were actually feathers. The right whirlwind had black feathers while the left had white feathers. Naruto opened his eyes when he felt a lot of wind around him and immediately saw the black and white feathers on his sides. Knowing that this meant his dream was real, Naruto smiled, one of his true smiles that seemed to light up the room, also catching Sarutobi's attention. "Naruto, what's going on?" shouted Sarutobi. Naruto looked at Sarutobi with tears in his eyes. "They really want me, it wasn't a dream, old man." But before Sarutobi could ask what the hell Naruto was talking about, the 2 whirlwinds began to close in on Naruto, forming one big whirlwind of white and black feathers. Suddenly Naruto wasn't even visible, and before Sarutobi could jump in to save Naruto, the whirlwind died down, leaving some feathers as remains. Falling to his knees in despair, Sarutobi heard an echo drifting into the room. "See you in a few years, old man." Getting up from his kneeling position, the Sandaime Hokage flared his chakra and almost instantaneously 5 Anbu ninja were kneeling in front of Sarutobi. "Naruto Uzumaki was abducted right from my office. Fan out and search everywhere within a 5-mile diameter of Konoha. Also, I want him brought back alive without any injuries or there will be consequences," commanded the Hokage. After 2 hours of searching through the village and Konoha forest, the 5 Anbu and their respective teams reported back to the Hokage empty-handed and without a suspect. Naruto literally vanished in thin air. The Hokage sat at his desk looking at the only 2 people that possibly cared for Naruto. He had just finished explaining to them what had happened and were waiting to hear their responses. Surprisingly, it was Anko Mitrashi, or as Naruto called her, the purple-haired snake lady, who spoke first. "So he said I'll see you in a few years? Which means he'll be back, right?" she said, her tone of voice subdued and unnaturally quiet for her personality. "If Naruto said that he would come back, then I believe him. Besides, some time away from Konoha would do nothing but good for Naruto," said a gruff voice that belonged to Scarface, as Naruto lovingly called him, but Sarutobi knew him as Ibiki Morino. "Then I guess the only thing to do is wait," said Sarutobi. The other 2 nodded and excused themselves. Sarutobi always found it ironic that the 2 people who ran the interrogation squad division and was widely known as the 2 most sadistic ninja in Konoha, Anko, even rivaling his sick and twisted student Orochimaru, would even care about an orphan, especially Naruto, when everyone else practically foamed at the mouth whenever he was around, but he just thought of it as sweet irony. For now all he could do was only wait, and that's what he planned to do. Elsewhere, Naruto had arrived in front of a fancy Japanese-styled 2-story house and noticed there were 4 more people waiting for him than he ever expected. There was his new aunt and uncle, but there was also some guy with amber eyes that had ridiculously long white hair and had purple markings on his stoic face. He was also wearing a long battle robe with long sleeves that hid his arms, accompanied with a type of armor which held 2 swords. He looked like royalty. Standing next to him, though, was another man wearing a red cape with black underwear. He had short black hair and eyes and a blood-lusting smirk on his face, with a one-handed sword sheathed on his side, and was carrying a spear in one hand and a shield in the other. The third man had a gentle smile on his face with gravity-defying black hair that pointed in every direction, and he wore an orange martial arts suit and a blue undershirt underneath it. The fourth man Naruto recognized immediately, as his face was on the Hokage mountain for all to see. So Naruto followed the twin gods into the living room of the house and sat down with all of them, waiting to see who would talk first. "Welcome to your new home, Naruto-kun," Kami said, breaking the silence that had resided in the room. Naruto nodded and smiled his biggest smile. "I'm really happy I get to live here with you," he said with genuine thanks in his voice. "Yay, so are we, but you need to introduce yourself to your new teachers," Shinny said, smugness clearly in his voice. Naruto was practically giddy at the idea of having one of the Hokages teaching him along with those other guys. "Hi, my name is Naruto Uzumaki and I want to be as strong as I can be, so thank you for teaching me," he said. Everyone nodded and the man with the cape stood up, demanding all of the attention. "My name is Leonidas. When I was among the living I was king of the Spartans. The reason I choose to teach you is because during your 6 years of life you have shown the spirit and will of a Spartan warrior. As such I will teach you swordsmanship, and I shall teach you to fight with spear and shield as if they were a part of your own beating heart. Do you accept, young Spartan?" He spoke with such conviction. Naruto stood up nodding vigorously enraptured by the king's word. "I would be honored if you taught me King Leonidas," he said. Leonidas along with everyone nodded hearing the determination in Naruto's voice. "Very good, you shall do well, I can tell," he says as he sits back down finished with his introduction. The man with the long white hair stood up next looking as graceful as one can from just getting up. "I am known only as Sesshomaru. I am a full dog demon, and because you hold my friend the Kyuubi, I will teach you how to control the demon chakra and abilities you would no doubt gain from the fox demon," he said without any emotion at all and then sat back down without giving Naruto a chance to reply. The famous Hokage stood up next with a sad smile on his face. "As you already know, I am the Shodown Hokage and I am deeply sorry for the way Konoha had treated you. I had hoped that when I built my village there wouldn't be unnecessary hate or people that would willingly harm a child regardless of position, but I can see that times has changed and the real will of fire has been doused. Since I am the founder of the Leaf Village, it is my duty to teach you everything I know about the ninja arts in hopes that I can repent for the sins committed by my village." He bowed deeply, truly sorry for his village, and sat back down. Naruto could only nod at him, not really knowing what to say in this situation. The fourth and final man stood up wearing a silly grin on his face. "Hiya, you can call me Goku. Let's see. Well, in my world I was pretty strong and I'll be teaching everything I know because it gets kinda boring in the afterlife. Haha, but don't worry, there's a lot you're gonna learn from me and we can have fun at the same time." Goku finished while rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. Naruto wasn't really sure about Goku. I mean, the others were a king, demon, and Hokage, and he's just pretty strong. Okay, cool," Naruto said nervously. Kami, being the ever-observant one, noticed Naruto's disbelief and decided to put him at ease. "Don't worry, Naruto. Goku is just really modest in his world. He was the best fighter and known as the protector of the universe. Trust me, you will love learning from him." Naruto stared at Goku, making him nervous. "Wow, protector of the universe? That's so cool," Naruto suddenly exclaimed, to which Goku let out a hearty chuckle and sat back down. "Now Naruto, me and Shinny won't be able to train you as we have our duties, but we will stop by to see you and these men will live with you in this house as you train for the next 7 years, is that okay?" asked Kami. Naruto nodded his head, signify it was okay, but asked, "Why 7 years?" "Because in 7 years the Genin exams take place for your age group, or do you not want to go back?" answered Shinny. "No, I have to go back. I promised, and I want to see the old man again and Scarface and the snake lady," Naruto said. Kami smiled. "Okay Naruto, when do you want to start training?" "Now," Naruto quickly said with a big smile. And with that said, everyone walked into the backyard to start Naruto's training, already in the process of becoming the greatest warrior his world has ever known. Sarutobi the Sandaime Hokage was sitting at his desk looking out the window overlooking Konoha. Right now he was waiting for all the Junins to come so they could watch today's Genin exam on his viewing orb, which reminded him of Naruto. 7 years has passed since he has seen his surrogate grandson and he has missed the little boy terribly. Anko and Ibiki gave up after the 3rd year, but he knew that Naruto would come back one day. Sarutobi sighed as he realized almost everything reminded him of Naruto, but he was broken out of his inner thoughts as people started to arrive. Noticing everyone arrived, including the silver-haired one-eyed Kakashi and Maida guy in his green bodysuit. Also Sarutobi's son was there, Asuma the chain smoker with his red-eyed girlfriend Kurenai the genjutsu mistress. Even his sickly kenjutsu master Gecko Hayate was there. He ushered them all to come around his back so they could see the viewing orb, and they all watched as Iruka the Chunin teacher waited for his students to come even though he was a good 15 minutes early. Everyone stood there waiting for some kid to come but was soon distracted as a large gust of wind blew through the room. Sarutobi stood up with all his Junin next to him as the wind slowly formed into a 6-foot tornado. Kakashi, lifting up his headband revealing his Sharingan, shouted to Sarutobi, "Hokage-sama, there's someone inside with a large amount of chakra, but I can't make out any features because there's black and white feathers surrounding it." When Sarutobi heard the word feathers, he immediately barked out orders, "Everyone step back. Anko and Ibiki next to me right now." They all did as they were ordered, but Anko asked the question everyone had on their minds. "What's going on, Hokage-sama?" she asked. Sarutobi just smiled and said, "He has returned," leaving everyone but Anko and Ibiki confused since they were too shocked to be confused. Sure enough, the tornado died down revealing a 5'9" tall tan-skinned boy. As he stood there staring at the Hokage, everyone quickly analyzed him thoroughly. He had white silky hair pulled back into a ponytail reaching his shoulder blades with two bangs framing his face. They all figured out who they were looking at as they saw his whisker marks, except now they were purple in color and he wore no shirt, showing off a body that not even their resident taijutsu master possessed. The demon vessel truly had a body of a god, and they noticed he wore typical shinobi pants that held a one-handed sword in a sheath and the standard shinobi footwear. Finally the boy spoke. "Hello old man Sarutobi." He said it with a gentle smile on his face, only to be betrayed by the coldness in his amber eyes. Naruto, is that you? What happened?" stuttered the Hokage, obviously shocked at the changes his grandson went through. "Yes, it is me old man, and nothing has happened, I have been simply reborn," he said with same gentle smile, although his voice portrayed no emotion. Naruto, finally taking his eyes off of Sarutobi, noticed the two people beside him with their mouths agape. "Anko-chan and Scarface-kun, it's nice to see you two again," waving to them, letting everyone see the seals written on both of his wrists. "Naruto, where have you been these 7 years?" asked Sarutobi with desperation clear in his voice. Naruto shifted his attention back to Sarutobi since the other two clearly weren't going to talk. "My apologizes old man, but I cannot reveal that information." "Demon scum, you will answer any questions our Hokage asks you," shouted out a very angry voice. Every eye sharply turned toward the owner of the voice, who turned out to be Kakashi with his Sharingan eye spinning wildly. "Kakashi-sen, I remember you vividly, and I am not a part of this village, therefore your Hokage has no authority over me. Also, you should cover that eye of yours, I know how much energy you waste just by exposing it," Naruto said, still not voicing any emotion despite the positively murderous look in his eye. Kakashi just growled and grudgingly covered his treasured eye, but the Sandame looked like he had been physically struck. "What do you mean?" Sarutobi asked, hurt obvious in his voice. Knowing that he hurt the old man with his statement, not really meaning to, he knelt down on one knee, placing one arm behind his back and the other over his heart closed in a fist, and bowed his head. "Although I hold no love for this village, I want to pledge my allegiance and everlasting loyalty to you old man for the rest of your life and become your personal ninja, ready to do any mission you command of me. Even if the command is to defend this wretched village, I will do it." All the ninjas present took great offense to Naruto's little speech except the Sandame, who had a great big smile on his face, and Anko, who had a smirk on her face. Even Ibiki was smiling, knowing how much respect he was giving the Hokage, even though none of the others understood it. "Arise Naruto, you don't know how much that means to me to hear you say that. I would love to make you my personal ninja, but I still want you to be on a Genin team so you could make some friends, although you would only answer to me and your Junin instructor if he or she gained your respect. Is that okay?" asked Sarutobi, shocking many ninja in the room. Naruto's gentle smile appeared again. "Whatever you wish of me old man." "Thank you Naruto, now I want you to go to this destination and take the Genin exam. It has my signature so you can participate even though you haven't attended any class," handing over a slip of paper to Naruto. "As you wish old man," Naruto said. He then turned to Anko and Ibiki and said, "Scarface-kun, we will talk later, and Anko-chan, I hope to see you again," and walked out the door, not wanting to reveal any more of his abilities. Leaving a smiling old man with a group of angry ninja and a tongue-tied Anko standing next to a smirking Ibiki. Naruto walked toward the Ninja Academy in very high spirits, not only confident in his ability to pass the Genin exam but also because Naruto was able to see the first 3 people that cared for him after 7 long years. The old man was always there that Naruto couldn't even remember the first time they met. Ibiki saved Naruto from an attempted murder and even took Naruto to eat at a nice restaurant, but what put Ibiki in Naruto's short list of people he would die for was when hearing that Naruto had no place to stay. Ibiki let Naruto live with him as long as he wanted, even though shortly after Naruto got his own apartment. Anko's meeting was very strange to say the least. Naruto was being chased by 4 grown men when out of nowhere Anko appeared and beat them within an inch of their lives, but when she was done and saw Naruto, she immediately grabbed him to her rather nice bust, screaming about cute chibis and wanting to keep him forever. Thinking on that day especially, Naruto almost blushed, but being taught by probably the most stoic person in existence rubbed off on Naruto, since he is more than capable of controlling his emotions. Leaving his thoughts for another time, Naruto started to familiarize himself with the town of Konoha again. Noticing the looks of lust he was receiving from the woman and girls alike made Naruto feel like he was wanted, but that all went straight to hell when the woman saw his now purple whisker marks and started giving him looks of hatred and disgust. Sadly for Konoha, this just lowered Naruto's already low tolerance for Konoha and her citizens. Realizing that he had made it to his destination, Naruto proceeded inside looking for room 117. 3 minutes into his search he finally found his assigned room and walked right in, effectively stopping all of the chatter as boys and girls all stared with open mouths. One girl even stood up and attempted a genjutsu release, and when nothing happened the room erupted in whispers, but Naruto ignored them all as he walked up to the lone Chunin instructor that bore a horizontal scar across his nose. Handing the paper to the teacher he stated, "I am here to take the Genin exam," in his monotone voice and neutral face. The Chunin read the paper and nodded his head in approval. "My name is Iruka-sensei. Please take the available seat in the front row, and when we call your name you will step into the next room and take the exam." Naruto nodded and took his seat, which happened to be next to a dark-haired black-eyed boy that took a look at Naruto only to turn away muttering, "Weakling," under his breath. Naruto may not have super hearing, but he would have to be deaf not to hear the blatant insult. Calming his demonic and Spartan pride, Naruto decided not to start the fight this kid was trying to pick, thinking it was better than getting into altercations on his first and last day at the academy. Watching as students passed and failed, it was finally his turn. Stepping into the next room, Naruto waited patiently for Iruka-sensei and his assistant to gather their professionalism, seeing as how when the assistant saw the name on the paper he started to yell about demons and not caring about the law. Naruto cleared his throat, hoping to at least notify the two teachers that he was indeed still in the same room. "Naruto, I am terribly sorry for Mizuki-sensei's behavior. Please wait a minute longer while I attempt to call him down," said Iruka, desperately trying to calm Mizuki. Mizuki, however, took great offense to this and showed it. "Iruka, don't you dare apologize to this demon. He killed our families. I will not allow him to join our ranks as an equal," he shouted. Naruto merely turned his head to the corner of the room and pointed at Mizuki, who was now looking at Naruto strangely. "Would you please escort Chunin Mizuki to the Hokage, because I do believe he has broken a law," seemingly speaking to no one. In the corner of the room the wall started to shimmer, revealing a hidden lion masked red-haired Anbu who nodded. "Yes, Naruto-san, I also believe a meeting with Hokage-sama is in order," the Anbu stated with a female monotone voice. The now frightened Mizuki lunged at Naruto, hoping to inflict some damage to the so-called demon, but was greatly disappointed when he felt the blow to the back of his head and his vision start to fade before he made it to his target. The Anbu threw Mizuki over her shoulder, putting her hand into a seal. "Good luck on your exam, Naruto-san," and she teleported out of the room, supposedly to the Hokage tower. Now Iruka, having the natural instincts of a ninja, was put on the edge because of the fact that there were no assigned Anbu guarding the academy, since there will be plenty of instructors there in case something happens. Another thing that bothered Iruka was that he didn't sense her, despite what people think. Iruka was not your regular Chunin, having served on Anbu himself for 3 years before he decided teaching was his real calling, and to not have sensed her meant that he was dangerously lacking or she was just dangerously strong. Either way it was bad. Naruto, seeing Iruka look at the corner of the room with intense concentration on his face, thought it was better to grab Iruka's attention now, and he did so by clearing his throat loudly. "Iruka-sensei, can I take the test now?" Snapping out of his inner thoughts, Iruka sat down at the examination table. "I apologize, Naruto, now can you please make 3 healthy clones?" Naruto, who was extremely disappointed in the test, put both hands in a cross sign and whispered, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." And 3 healthy clones phased into existence without a sound. Iruka looked over the clones with a praising eye and was indeed ready to pass Naruto until one of his clones took a couple of steps away from Naruto, making Iruka throw a kunai knife at it because he heard its footsteps, and when said clone caught the kunai between his fingers, Iruka's mouth practically kissed the floor when it dropped. Iruka snapped his head in the real Naruto's direction, amazement and disbelief in his eyes. "Naruto, how could you possibly know the forbidden Shadow Clone Jutsu and be able to use it without the poof of smoke?" Iruka shouted out his question. Calmly dispelling his jutsu, still not using the widely known poof of smoke, Naruto walked up to the table, grabbing a leaf headband and said, "Don't be surprised, Iruka-sensei, you know what hard work can achieve. Besides, that technique has been around since the first Hokage ruled Konoha," and then gracefully walked out the door, leaving a flustered and shocked Iruka behind. Stepping back into the main room again with his headband in his pocket made many students think he was all looks with no skills. In fact, a certain Inuzuka made it publicly known how he felt. He looks tough, but he couldn't even pass that easy test. What a loser. Naruto looked up at who he recognized to be Kiba and his dog Akamaru. Getting ready to make a retort, Naruto was interrupted by a monotone voice. Kiba-san, you should not make assumptions just by what you see, or it will cost you your life in the future. I'm sure since you tried to humiliate Naruto-san in front of our peers, he would not be against treating you the same by showing us what he has in his pocket. Isn't that right, Naruto-san? The voice Naruto recognized as Shino's, the only bug user in his generation. Naruto put on his trademark gentle smile and reached into his pockets, pulling out his headband. You are quite right, Shino-san. You see, Kiba-san, I only had the headband in my pocket because I could not figure out where I wanted to place it. Am I a loser because I could not make a decision? Kiba, trying to save face and reputation, quickly retorted. Well, yeah, you are. I mean, it's called a headband for a reason. Where else would you put it? To which Naruto quickly answered. Then I believe you are calling Ino-san a loser since she wears her headband on her belt, and Hinata-san is also a loser because she chooses to wear her headband on her neck. Which makes Shikamaru-san a loser as well, seeing as he wears his headband on his arm sleeve. Kiba, who was friends with Shikamaru and had a monster crush on Hinata, tried to deny Naruto's statement by stuttering out and no, they're not losers, only you. But just ended up looking stupid, with most of the class snickering about how Kiba just got owned. Iruka came back into the room commanding attention and spoke. Congratulations for those who passed their Genin exams, and for those who failed, better luck next year. I will now read off the teams that were put together due to your performances and all year-round class grade. Teams 1 through 6 are not important. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha Rookie of the Year, Sakura Haruno and Shikamaru Nara Dead Last of the Year, led by Junin instructor Kakashi Hitaki. Like clockwork, Sakura started to scream about true love prevailing, with half of the girls in the class crying and begging to be on Sasuke's team, but Iruka shouted out shut the hell up, and the class was quiet once more. Now that I have your attention, I can begin again. Team 8 will be Shino Abramai, Hinata Hyuga and newcomer Naruto Uzumaki, led by Junin instructor Kurenai Yuhi. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year, so Team 10 will be Kiba Inuzuka, Ino Yamanaka and Choji Akamichi, led by Junin instructor Asuma Sarutobi. Once again, congratulations for those who passed. Please wait here for your Junin instructors. Iruka finishing his little speech with a low bow signifying his respect for the new ninjas. Naruto walked over to where Shino was sitting, grabbing Hinata on the way, and asked, "May we sit with you, Shino-san?" Shino nodded his consent and Naruto sat in the middle with Hinata on his right. Naruto looked over his teammates, noticing that they were both bloodline users. Shino was stoic, and as other Abrames used logic and reasoning instead of emotion-ruled decisions, and Shino obviously took the ninja career seriously, probably because he was the heir to his clan, but that was just common knowledge. Everyone knew all the heirs to the clans, and Naruto just happened to know from hearing it on the street. Hinata, like Shino, was also an heiress to her clan, and as far as Naruto could see was a naturally caring person, but that did not mean she was weak, since she was the most talented kunoichi in the class, and that counted for something. But there was a spark of something in Hinata's eye that seemed off. Regardless, Naruto figured he would find out sometime in the future. Shino, who was usually quiet, broke the silence. "Naruto-san, Hinata-san, I believe we should get to know each other since we will be working together from now on, and lack of information could prove to be our downfall." Hinata joined in. "I agree, and I hope instead of becoming just ninja in arms that we could become friends as well," she finished with a smile on her face. Naruto, with his gentle smile, replied, "Sounds good to me, but how would you like to do this? And if we're going to be teammates, we should be on first-name basis, no more formalities." Shino nodded. "Very well, Naruto-s, I mean Naruto. I think it would be best if we just asked and answered questions. For example, Hinata, what do you do in your free time?" Shino asked. "I enjoy flower pressing and making medicinal bombs during my free time. Also, of course, the occasional training session I like to participate in." "Shino, what do you like to do in your free time?" Hinata said. "In my free time, I like to collect bugs to expand my colony. I also enjoy experimenting to make a new breed of destruction bugs for my clan." "Naruto, what do you like to do in your free time?" Shino asked. Naruto nodded and was about to answer, but a poof of smoke revealed a black-haired, red-eyed lady who called out for Team 8. Naruto looked at his teammates and saw a frown on Shino's face, and Hinata looked a little sad, but before he could even ask, Shino spoke up, "Next time, Naruto." Obviously they were very curious about Naruto, which made sense since he came out of nowhere. All they knew was his name and that he could perform 3 clones, so it took no genius to figure out that Shino and Hinata was angry at their first chance of knowing something about Naruto was interrupted. Naruto just nodded his acceptance and walked with his team to the Junin instructor, who led them to an empty classroom. Kurenai looked over students, her gaze lingering on Naruto as everything she did and watched others do flashed before her eyes. Honestly, Kurenai didn't care about the Kyuubi in Naruto, but at the time she had just started dating Asuma and he was a regular Naruto beater whenever he was in the mood. So she just went along with it, not wanting to lose him so early, because she knew that if she said something they would have had their biggest fight and he might have broken up with her, and she didn't want to take the chance. Whenever she attacked him though, she only used illusion, hoping Naruto would know it was fake, and she only used illusions that made him think he was being beat or attacked, since he was already getting that in real life. She hoped it wouldn't seriously affect him. But looking into that expressionless face and those cold amber eyes made her remember when he was young and Asuma for some reason wanted Naruto to suffer more mental pain, so he made everyone that ransacked little Naruto's room to make room for her, and he told her, "Make the demon scream. I want him to live out his worst fear. Can you do that, Nai-chan?" Just the way he whispered it into her ear, adding the affectionate suffix, made Kurenai not want to disappoint him. So she did it, and believe it or not, little Naruto's screams still haunt her to this day. But what stuck out was when she finally released the genjutsu. Little 5-year-old Naruto looked at her with so much hate and murderous intent in his blue eyes that at that moment Kurenai knew this day would never be forgotten and she would never be forgiven, and she knew if he survived he would come looking for revenge, and she would be one of the people he would come for. Kurenai-sensei?" Kurenai was brought out of her inner monologue by Hinata's voice. "Yes, Hinata-chan?" she responded. "Well, you were staring at Naruto for a long time," Hinata said, not wanting to embarrass her new sensei. Kurenai was indeed embarrassed and tried to find something to say, but Shino, for reasons unknown, decided to rub salt in her wound by stating, "Yes indeed, sensei, it seems seeing Naruto triggered memories which resulted in you being lost in thought. Which also makes me think that you knew Naruto in the past despite me or Hinata never seeing him before." Inwardly Kurenai cursed the Abrame's observation skills and was desperately trying to find something to say to get out of this awkwardness, only to be interrupted by the very person who was invading her thoughts. "You're right, Shino, me and this woman do have history. Would you like to tell Hinata and Shino how we know each other?" Naruto said, his eyes never leaving Kurenai's, and instead of his trademark gentle smile he had a positively bloodthirsty smirk on his face that scared Hinata and disturbed Shino, who was at this moment not sure if he even wanted to know. "No," Kurenai shouted, making Hinata jump and Shino raise an eyebrow. "They do not need to know Naruto. That is our past and we don't need to involve them." Kurenai finished praying to all gods that Naruto would drop the subject and not ruin her image in front of her 2 other students. Naruto snarled, "I see, so you don't want the younger generation to know cause you know that they would despise you, but you're fine with your generation knowing because they'll applaud you. No worries, I won't reveal anything yet." Kurenai, seeing that Naruto was done, tried to get on with her introduction. "Well, with all that aside, I will be your Junin instructor. Usually all Genins would have a second test, but you already passed yours by trying to get to know each other when you guys found out you were on the same team. We will start introducing ourselves and I'll go first. My name is Kurenai Yuhi and I am a genjutsu specialist. I enjoy a good book and relaxing at the hot springs. I dislike perverts and East pigs. My goals and dreams are to help you all achieve Junin status." Hinata, who was next in line, sat up straight and said, "My name is Hinata Hyuga, the heiress to the Hyuga clan. I enjoy flower pressing and making medicinal creams. I dislike those who judge before they know someone and those that would cause unneeded violence. My goals and dreams are to change the Hyuga clan for the better," she finished with a sad smile on her face. Shino fixed his glasses and stood up. "My name is Shino Abramai, heir to the Abramai clan. I enjoy collecting bugs to expand my colony and experimenting to make a new breed of battle-ready bugs for my clan. I dislike those who cannot think for themselves and those that allow other people to manipulate them. I also dislike those who allow petty emotion to cloud their logic and judgment. My dreams and goal are to become the strongest Abramai in the village and create new bugs for the clan." Kurenai, who was outwardly smiling at the 2 introductions, was inwardly devastated. Her two students' dislikes perfectly described her and her past with Naruto, and if he was to say something to them they would not only lose all respect for her but would also despise her, and her first Genin team would fall apart in shambles. Naruto, noticing it was his turn, stood up, gathering attention from them all as Shino and Hinata was very curious about him, and Kurenai wanted to know where he disappeared to and hopefully find out how strong Naruto was. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are training and the few people who are important to me. My dislikes are Konoha and most of her citizens. My goal is to become the strongest ninja in the world, gaining weird looks when he mentioned Konoha. So essentially you wish to be Hokage? Asked Shino, still wanting to know more about his teammate. The Hokage, while being the strongest in the village, would have to protect Konoha, and I will never protect Konoha unless our current Hokage asks me to, stated Naruto. Hinata was confused and decided to try her luck on Naruto. Why do you dislike Konoha so much, Naruto? She asked. Naruto smiled when he heard Hinata. Truthfully, he was waiting for someone to ask so he could put Kurenai on edge, and when he was going to open his mouth to respond he was interrupted by the very person he wanted to ruin. I think that's enough questions for Naruto. Now missions will start tomorrow at 8 sharp. You're dismissed, but I would like a word with Naruto alone, Kurenai said in a commanding voice showing she was serious. Yes, sensei. Hinata and Shino chorused. They both stood up, with Hinata muttering a small goodbye to Naruto while Shino just nodded, and then they were gone, leaving Naruto and Kurenai alone. With Shino and Hinata in front of the academy, Hinata stopped Shino. Are you as curious as I am about the history between sensei and Naruto? She asked. Shino nodded. Yes, I am curious as well. I believe we need more information on Naruto. I will ask my father and I suggest you do the same. Hinata nodded, and before parting ways she said, I am glad to be paired with you, Shino, along with Naruto. To which Shino replied with a short, I am glad as well, and they went their separate ways. Back with Naruto and Kurenai. Naruto and Kurenai were staring each other down, Naruto ready to defend himself in case Kurenai attacked, and Kurenai tense and anxious in case Naruto extracted his revenge, but after 2 minutes of nothing but staring, Naruto got frustrated and broke the silence. What do you want? His voice so cold Kurenai fought hard to suppress a shiver from running down her back. Kurenai, wanting to be over with this as quick as possible, got straight to the point. I want to know where you were for the past 7 years. Naruto crossed his arms over his chest and answered, No. As your sensei I demand to know where you were and how strong you currently are, Kurenai retorted hotly. Naruto looked her over and said, If I did not tell the Hokage of my whereabouts, then what makes you think I would tell you? Kurenai tried to find some reason she should know, but she came up empty. She knew trying to pull rank would not get her far, and now she knew not what to say, but she was spared the embarrassment when Naruto continued to speak. Although I will give you a taste of the strength I have earned, Naruto said, and before Kurenai could react, Naruto released a flood of killing intent, sending her straight to her knees, gasping for air with tears welling up in her eyes. Finally stopping the flow of killing intent, he walked over to Kurenai, who was on her knees shaking, tears spilling onto the floor. He gently cupped her chin, pushing her face so she could look into his cold amber eyes, and he said, That was a moderate dose of my battle aura used to scare weaklings off the battlefield. I could end it now, but you Kakashi, Guy, Asuma and Hayate should enjoy your lives, for when the old man dies so will you all. And he walked out of the room, leaving her on the floor. At the Hokage Tower, all the new instructors and Curios Junin were waiting on Kurenai, who was uncharacteristically late, so that they could find out the new teams. The Sandame already sent an Anbu to locate her, who were gone for over 5 minutes, so when the gathered ninja felt a certain amount of focus chakra, they all turned almost eagerly to the spot that was saturated with chakra, and in a poof of smoke there was the sent Anbu with an obviously terror-stricken Kurenai. The sparrow-masked Anbu lowered his head in respect, being that he couldn't bow. Hokage-sama, I found her on the floor of classroom 119. There were no signs of an attack on her person, and I also ruled out genjutsu, seeing as she is the leading expert of genjutsu and would have been able to dispel most illusions, he said. Sarutobi pulled aside a chair and motioned for the Anbu to put her down while giving the Anbu a simple pat on the back, letting him know he wasn't needed anymore. The Anbu saluted the Hokage and disappeared in a poof. Meanwhile, the Sandame was in front of Kurenai, holding her head with his thumbs placed directly on her temples. Sarutobi's hand started to glow green, signifying his use of medical jutsu, and Kurenai visibly relaxed under his treatment. Anko, who was in attendance, was worried about her ex-best friend and was glad to see that the Sandame was able to help her, which prompted her to ask, "Hokage-sama, what was that technique you used?" The old Hokage just chuckled and replied, "It was nothing more than a relaxation technique. I applied this same technique to a young Tsunade when she was stressed, and I believe it was that moment in which Tsunade began to have interest in medical jutsu. But enough with my old man ramblings. Kurenai dear, what caused this?" Kurenai, being more relaxed, looked up at the Hokage and uttered a single word, "Naruto," causing everyone in the room to stiffen at the name. Sarutobi instantly lost his grandfatherly look and was now the commander of Konoha. "Tell me everything of importance, leave nothing significant out of your report, and if you lie I will know and punish you accordingly," he stated, never wavering in his voice. Kurenai knew better than to try and lie to the Hokage. Not only was he an expert at reading people, but just the idea of him being disappointed in you made you really feel ashamed. It had to be the grandfatherly role he played so perfectly. After the team placements, I body flickered into the room, noticing my new team, which has Naruto in it, had already passed the customary teamwork test since they were in the process of introducing themselves to each other. I then took them into an empty room so they could properly introduce themselves, and when I dismissed my new team I asked Naruto to remain behind. I then asked him to tell me where he was for the past 7 years, but he said no, and then I tried to pull rank and demand his past location and current strength, but he still refused to say where he was, and then told me he would give me a taste of the power he earned and doused me in killing intent. He then made a statement and left me on the floor where the Anbu found me. She said, her eyes refusing to meet the Hokages as everyone was quiet after hearing that little tale. The Sandame digested all the information and asked, "So my Naruto reduced you to a sobbing mess with his killing intent alone?" Kurenai nodded, deeply ashamed for her actions and how Naruto embarrassed her thoroughly. "Sorry for the interruption, Hokage-sama, but I would like to know the statement Naruto made before leaving the room," asked Mike Guy, who was only there to see if Kakashi passed his team. Sarutobi nodded in acceptance. "I almost forgot about that. If you would, Kurenai, please repeat what Naruto said?" Naruto remarked while I was on the floor that he struck me with moderate killing intent, and although he could end it now, that I, along with Kakashi-san, Asuma-san, Guy-san and Hayate-san, should enjoy our lives, because when the old man dies so will we, she said. "Haha, well, it seems you 5 are lucky that I am still around, or else you would be dead," chuckled Sarutobi despite the seriousness of the situation. "I believe you overestimate Naruto, Hokage-sama," said Kakashi in his usual nonchalant tone, completely dismissing the threat to his life. "And I believe you underestimate Naruto, Kakashi," retorted the Sandame with that sort of all-knowing voice. Hayate was slightly annoyed that the Hokage wasn't taking this serious at all. "With all due respect, Hokage-sama, a leaf ninja threatened his fellow ninjas with death. Shouldn't some action be taken?" The Hokage adopted a very serious look on his face, prompting all the ninja to await his words of wisdom. "In all honesty, you 5 deserve your upcoming deaths. If I hadn't swore an oath to the Yondaime stating I would protect Konoha to my death or until my next successor is named, I would have killed all of you myself and taken Naruto out of Konoha. Seeing the way my ninja have acted and still act positively sicken me. The will of fire definitely dwindled in you all." All the ninja were shocked at their Hokage's words. Most of the ninja looked down in shame as they recalled how they either threw things or just treated Naruto badly. And the sad part is there is no chance of redeeming yourself after all the damage you've caused. Plus, when I'm long gone, only Anko or Ibiki might be able to stall your deaths, and I believe Kurenai already messed that up by ending her friendship with Anko, calling her a traitorous demon lover. "Am I right?" continued the Sandame. Anko nodded, remembering that day well, while Ibiki leaned on the wall frowning. There was no way anyone would get any sympathy from him. Kurenai, if possible, was really regretting a lot of choices she made in her life. Also, Hayate was starting to doubt his past choices, seeing that not even the kindest Hokage held pity for them. Kakashi just kept reading. If that little 13-year-old Genin wanted to try anything, then he would just kill the demon and claim self-defense. Besides, there's no way he could be beaten by a kid, right? Asuma was staring intently at his father, not believing that he would have killed his son because of the Kyuubi kid, and poor Guy was just plain confused. Was the Hokage right? Was his flames of youth diminishing? Sarutobi interrupted everyone's thought as he spoke. "Okay, everyone, on with the meeting. I will personally speak with Naruto tomorrow when his team comes in for their missions." And with that, the original meeting was well on its way. But sadly, despite Konoha being the strongest of the elemental countries, the independent ninja skills was lacking, for in the corner of the room using her now frequently used genjutsu was a red-haired Anbu with a lion's mask who was grinning under her mask, taking in all the information she had learned, and when she deemed the meeting taking place pointless she simply phased out of existence, nobody knowing she was there to begin with. On the Hokage faces, Naruto sat upon the Shodem's head relaxing, thinking of things to come when he felt a presence. Turning his head to look at his new guest, he took in her appearance and wanted to laugh at her choice of Konoha Anbu clothing. "So what's going on?" Naruto lazily asked. "Well, Naruto-kun, it seems the Sandaime greatly favors you, even going as far as saying he would have killed all those who harmed you but didn't, only cause of the Yondaime," her earlier monotone voice replaced by a carefree tone. Naruto sat up straight. "Wow, the old man really said that?" he asked, not really believing it. The Anbu laughed, seeing Naruto's incredulous expression. "Indeed, Naruto. I believe you won't have to tread as lightly as you thought, just don't kill people," she said. "Well, I have you to kill for me. Anyway, just continue to pick off those demon haters, but make them clean kills like poison in the food or a nice senbon to the neck, but if a fight is unavoidable then incinerate the body, leaving absolutely no trace. I'll mark those bigots like always so you know who to target. Oh, and please keep your ears open for information. I mean, you know the shadow clone technique, so use it since it's perfect for espionage and info gathering," Naruto ordered. The Anbu nodded and asked, "Is that all, Naruto-kun?" "No, that's all, just come see me tomorrow same time but at our other place, okay?" Naruto asked. "Of course, Naruto-kun, but do you know how cute you are when you go into commando mode?" Giggling like a fool as she phased away, Naruto just sighed, that gentle smile still on his face, while thinking, "So far so good," and continued to stare at the stars. It was 7:30 in the morning and Shino had just showed up at the Hokage Tower early enough so hopefully him and Hinata would be able to talk and share information. It seemed that he was very lucky since Hinata was already there, seemingly waiting for him. As he walked over to her he could see she was anxious about something. "Good morning, Hinata," Shino said, nodding his head along with his greeting. "Shino, good morning to you too," Hinata nervously said, apprehension clear on her face. "I believe you should share first as you seem excited. What kind of information did you manage to gather?" Shino asked, genuine curios. Hinata nodded rapidly. "As you suggested, I asked my father if he knew of a boy named Naruto Uzumaki, and just like Kurenai yesterday, father looked lost in thought, and when he came back into focus he shook his head saying, 'I have killed 3 good men for that boy,' and then he continued to say, 'It is such a sad world when people turn their savior into a pariah,' and he just walked away," Hinata said, looking quite proud at her information gathering attempt. Shino, with twin raised eyebrows, was definitely surprised at the info but regained his composure. "Very good, Hinata. I also asked my father about Naruto and all he said was that Naruto was a victim of unjust hate and that the people of Konoha were a perfect example of those who allowed emotion to cloud their logic," he said, returning to his monotone voice. Hinata took in the information but was still confused. "What does this mean then?" she asked. "I'm not sure, but from our information we can deduce that Naruto at some point in time was logically a savior or hero, but the people of Konoha ended up hating him to the point your father killed to protect him, which probably resulted in his absence until he recently returned. But what we need to know is why he was a hero and why he was hated, and also where he disappeared to," Shino said, listing off their new objectives. Hinata nodded her head in agreement but then asked, "Where does our sensei fit into all this, Shino-kun?" Shino slightly raised an eyebrow at the affectionate suffix but answered, "Most likely she was someone who hated him, if that crazed face Naruto wore was any proof at all." Nodding in agreement, Hinata then said, "Okay, but we also need to find out why Kurenai-sensei hated Naruto and why Naruto had that crazy look on his face when he spoke to sensei." "Very well," said Shino, and then they began to talk about random things to pass the time until their other teammate and sensei showed up. At 8 o'clock on the dot, Naruto appeared in a swirling vortex of black and white feathers in front of the Hokage Tower, gaining appreciative looks from his teammates, and right next to him Kurenai appeared in a poof of smoke. "I enjoyed Naruto's entrance better," Hinata said. While Shino nodded and stated, "I agree." Kurenai's sweat dropped but Naruto had his gentle smile and said, "Thanks guys and good morning to you both." Gaining a good morning from Hinata and a muttered morning from Shino. Seeing her team there and ready, Kurenai ushered them into the building upstairs to the mission room where the Hokage sat surrounded by the two elders and Iruka the Chunin. The Hokage brightened up seeing his not-so-secret favorite ninja. "Why hello Team 8, I hope you're excited for your first mission assignment." Kurenai stepped up addressing the Hokage. "Team 8 is reporting for duty, Hokage-sama." The Hokage nodded. "Well, Iruka here has your first mission, which happens to be a joint assignment with the Team 7, 9, and 10. Your objective is to fix a house that was ruined by a jutsu gone bad," he said smiling. Iruka got up handing the mission scroll to Kurenai and looked towards her team and said, "Although fixing a house might not seem like a real ninja mission, all the legends had to do the same thing, and besides your unique skill will help out a lot." Iruka finished looking at Naruto. The elders looked up in interest hearing the words, "unique skill," and it had them instantly scheming about making Konoha stronger. Seeing Iruka look at the gray-haired boy that wore no shirt displaying his fantastic body, Kaharu spoke up in a practiced sweet grandmotherly voice, "Oh dear, and what unique skill do you possess?" Everyone turned hearing one of the elders talked, and if anyone was watching the Hokage they would have seen a flash of panic cross his eyes, but Iruka, being a rule-following ninja, answered in the way he was taught. "He can perform the shadow clone without the poof of smoke, honorable elder." His hand on Naruto's shoulder, proud to show off a skilled ninja in front of the elders. Despite being disappointed about not finding a possible bloodline, the elders were still impressed that one so young could actually perform a forbidden technique and upgrade it too. Homura smiled. "Well, you must be quite the genius, young man. Tell me, what is your name?" It was at this point Naruto's gentle smile turned into a bloodthirsty smirk. Hinata and Shino noticed Naruto's change in personality and eagerly waited for what was about to happen. The Hokage looked down knowing everything that was going to happen, and Iruka was just oblivious to the whole thing, while Kurenai just raised an eyebrow, curious about what was going to happen. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki," he said, absolutely loving how the elders flinched back as if they were just struck in the face. The both of them immediately put on their glasses and stared intently at Naruto until Kaharu leaned back and said, "I had heard rumors of your return, but when I failed to see a blonde young boy running around screaming about becoming Hokage, I just ignored them, but as I look now I can see that you've changed and I've aged since I didn't notice your unique facial marks." Homura continued stating, "And seeing that you were missing for 7 years, one can only wonder how you learned a Konoha forbidden technique. As such, you will be required to attend a council meeting at 7 tonight. See to it that you show up, or we will deploy Anbu to collect you by force if necessary." Shino and Hinata looked on in shock while Iruka was still oblivious and Kurenai had both eyebrows raised. The Hokage just sat up and said, "Team 8, I do believe you have a mission to attend to, and Naruto, make sure you behave. I'll see you at 7. Team 8 nodded and walked out of the door with Naruto saying a quick, "Bye old man," before leaving the tower. Arriving at the assigned location, Team 8 saw the broken house that looked like an elemental dragon crashed right into it. They also saw some of their classmates and 3 other kids just sitting there like they were bored. Seeing Kurenai walk over to the other Junin, Team 8 walked over to the group of kids and gained their attention. Most people just looked them over, but 2 kids walked over, one of them a chubby kid, obviously an Akamichi by the swirls on his cheeks, and the other a skinny but muscular kid with earrings. Naruto recognized him as Shikamaru Nara, which meant the chubby kid was Choji. Shino nodded in greeting and said, "Shikamaru, Choji, nice to see you again." Shikamaru waved nonchalantly and replied, "Same here, how's the team?" "Very well, in fact I believe you know Hinata, and my other teammate is Naruto Uzumaki," said Shino. Shikamaru waved at Hinata, who shyly waved back while hiding behind Shino. Then he looked at Naruto. "Oh yay, I remember him, this is the guy who owned Kiba by using me as an example." Naruto took a step forward nodding. "Yay, that was me, nice to meet you," he said, extending his hand for a friendly shake, hoping his generation wasn't like the older one. Shikamaru lazily took the hand and shook it while saying, "Yay, nice to meet you too. By the way, this is my best friend Choji, but you probably already know that." Naruto nodded and shook hands with Choji, sharing a quiet hello with the boy. Shino cleared his throat, gaining the attention he seeks. He asked, "And how is your team, Shikamaru?" Shikamaru sighed and said, "Troublesome, we barely even passed the test, and then Kakashi had a spar to see who was the strongest, and I was all for staying dead last, but Sasuke decided to insult my clan and my mother, so I beat him. Then he got all pissy and demanded Kakashi to train him, and our sensei nodded, told us where to meet him and poofed away to train Sasuke. I see that's unfortunate, but we also had a situation like that where Kurenai-sensei asked Naruto to stay behind after dismissing us, but I highly doubt it was for extra training, Shino remarked. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. So why did she ask you to stay, Naruto? He asked. Hinata and Shino perked up hoping to get an answer. Naruto just smiled and said, she wanted to know where I was for 7 years, but I never told her and I won't say it now, so I apologize. Although I would like to know about Choji's team. Everyone was a little disappointed, but Choji answered anyway. Well, we passed after starting to work like a team, but after that he just poofed away. We didn't even introduce ourselves. All we know is that his name is Asuma and that he smokes a lot. I doubt I'll get any stronger with him. Yay, I can say the same about Kakashi, muttered Shikamaru. Suddenly Naruto tensed, eyes narrowed and quickly turned around, drawing his sword forward, and not more than a second later a body suddenly appeared with its neck only an inch from the tip of the sword. The owner of the body, who was one of the 3 Naruto didn't recognize, was wearing an all-green bodysuit similar to guys with bushy eyebrows and a bowl-cut hairstyle. The oddly dressed boy was looking down at the sword nervously, sweat dripping from his forehead. What do you want? Naruto growled out, amber eyes burning into the boy. The boy stuttered out, I merely wanted to talk. Everyone tensed, waiting the outcome, with the Junins ready to engage in case things got out of hand, but Guy looked strangely upset. The boy's female teammate looked shocked, not expecting a fresh out of the academy rookie to keep up with her leotard-wearing teammate, while the boy's other teammate observed stoically with his obviously Hyuga eyes. Sasuke seethed quietly at the show of speed and reaction, silently vowing that he will obtain their power. While Shino, Shikamaru, Choji and Hinata looked on in awe at Naruto's superior reflexes. Naruto lowered his sword but didn't take his eyes off the boy. If that was true, why come at me with such speed? Feeling braver now that he wasn't in front of the weird-looking sword, the boy spoke. I am Konoha's handsome devil Rock Lee, and I have come to challenge you as I have heard of your unyouthfulness. Naruto raised an eyebrow and said, I am Naruto Uzumaki and you have come looking for a challenge, yet you attempt to attack me from behind. Have you no honor? The now named Rock Lee looked horrified at the thought of not being honorable and almost screamed out, I humbly apologize, Naruto-san. I had thought that you being unyouthful meant that you knew nothing of honor, so I decided to fight you on your own terms. Naruto pretty much knew where this was going but wanted it out in the open anyway and asked, and who told you of me being unyouthful? Lee perked up and said, why, Guy-sensei, of course. He informed me that a gray-haired boy a year younger than me with purple markings on his face would come to spread his unyouthfulness, and then he told me it was up to me to reintroduce you to the power of youth. All the Genin looked at Guy, wondering why he would send his student after another student, but all they saw was Guy looking at Lee and Naruto with narrowed eyes and arms crossed over his chest. Naruto shook his head. Lee, if I was unyouthful I would have killed you. Although I may not be as youthful as you, I still spared your life, for I am honor-bound to give my enemies a fair fight before I give them the glory of being upon my sword. Lee nodded sagely along with Naruto's words and replied, I am truly sorry. I can see with my own eyes that you are youthful as well. It was at this point Guy stalked over and decked Lee across the face, sending him sprawling on the floor. Looking down at Lee, Guy said, Lee, how could you possibly respect this unyouthful character? I sent you to defeat him, not make friends with him. Everyone was shocked seeing a Junin strike his student like that, and all the Genins shot a quick look to their own senseis, wondering if they would try the same thing, but even the Junin were stunned. The normally nonchalant Kakashi was bug-eyed and gaping, looking at his friend, wondering why he struck his own innocent student. Lee looked confused, holding his face where a bruise was starting to form. But Guy-sensei, he is very youthful and he even has an honor code. How could he be unyouthful? Lee asked. Guy just screamed out, don't question me, and made to strike Lee again, but his fist was blocked by a hand that turned out to be Naruto's. Naruto looked deep into Guy's eyes and said, you shouldn't have done that. Whatever problem you have with me stays with me, and you won't have your friends backing you up this time. Look for yourself. And sure enough, when Guy looked back, Kakashi had his Sharingan exposed, the kamas spinning wildly, nearly giving Sasuke a heart attack. Kurenai had her hands in a seal ready to cast a genjutsu, and Asuma already had his trench knives out. Guy looked at Lee, who was looking up at him terror-stricken, not believing his idol and hero just hit him out of training. Guy then looked towards his other two students and saw the girl named Tenten looking at him fearfully while hiding behind Neji the Hyuga, who had his Byakugan activated, full blast, body tensed, ready for an attack. Have I let my hatred go so far? Guy whispered to himself as he poofed out of the area. Everyone visibly relaxed when he was gone. Kurenai quickly tried to distract the Genins by making them do the mission they were assigned to do in the first place, and they all eventually started to work, Naruto using his clones as extra manpower, Sasuke and Kakashi using their fire jutsu to meld the metal pipes together, and everyone else doing manual labor. After the mission was done, the Genin got their pay and was told to meet at the Hokage Tower at 8 o'clock again. Kurenai left with Hinata and Kakashi left with Sasuke, Asuma just left and Ino with Sakura left trying to find Sasuke, while Kiba just ran off with Akamaru, leaving Shino, Naruto, Choji, Shikamaru, Lee, Neji and Tenten. Lee turned to Naruto and said in a defeated voice, "I thank you for sticking up for me. I don't think I would have had the heart to defend myself." Naruto waved the apology off and replied, "It was no problem, I'm not a bad person really, it's your sensei that needs to realize that." Lee nodded and sat down on the ground looking depressed. Neji walked over looking at Naruto and said, "I also want to thank you for coming to Lee's defense despite him trying to attack you earlier. It also took great skill to block one of my sensei's punches." Not even waiting for a reply, Neji just turned around and walked away with Tenten by his side once again, leaving the five of them there. Shikamaru sighed. "Well, it looks like Kakashi left with Uchiha again. I thought he would have at least took an hour to team train us," he said, sounding annoyed. "Yes, it seems our sensei might be playing favorites as well," Shino stated. Choji looked downcast and sadly stated, "We aren't going to get stronger, only Sasuke and Hinata will." Naruto looked around, seeing what he could possibly call his only friends in Konoha, looking very sad. "It would be good to have allies in Konoha. They might even join me later on." Coming to a decision, Naruto cleared his throat, gathering attention, and spoke, "I'll teach you guys." They all looked at him strangely, probably wondering what he could possibly teach them, and Shikamaru asked that very thing. "Really, what could you teach us?" "Well, we would have to brainstorm about what I would teach individually, but for now you would all need weights so you could become faster and stronger, and most of you have family techniques you can learn, so how about it? We can all train together," Naruto said with his gentle smile on his face. While everyone looked to be considering the idea, Lee spoke up, "Naruto-san, I have no family and no family techniques. In fact, I'm not even able to perform ninjutsu or genjutsu, and I already wear weights." Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment and responded, "Okay Lee, first of all just call me Naruto, and since you already wear weights then we'll just add more. But for that chakra problem then I'll just teach you the way of the sword." Lee nodded, looking excited that he'll be learning something new, while the rest of the guys all agreed to get trained by Naruto. "Glad to hear you accept, but I have a meeting with the council that I'm not supposed to miss, but we'll meet up every day after our respective missions. Oh, and try not to tell your senseis that I'm teaching you, I want it to be a surprise, okay?" Naruto said, asked. Everyone nodded their heads and stalked up to their respective homes while Naruto disappeared in his personal black and white feathered vortex. Council chamber. Naruto appeared in his personal body flicker, shocking the people in the room who hadn't saw it yet. Looking around, Naruto noticed that every clan head was there. The civilian council was there as well. Naruto also noticed several of the Junin there that he recognized, but Naruto figured they were allowed to sit in, being that they were high-ranking Junins. Naruto, seeing a chair next to the table in front of the room where the Hokage sits, went over and sat in the chair when the door to the chamber opened up, revealing the Hokage, the elders and Danzo. Sarutobi took his seat in the front of the room and addressed all those present. "Good evening. The meeting concerning Naruto Uzumaki will begin. All those who have questions will be allowed to ask, although everyone will act as adults, not children, or they will be dismissed from the council meeting." At first no one spoke nor moved until Homura stood up looking at Naruto and asked, "Uzumaki-san, could you please explain your whereabouts for the past 7 years?" Naruto remained calm and professionally said, "I am not at liberty to reveal that information." But it was obvious that the people of Konoha don't know when to let certain things go, especially when Homura asked, "Excuse me? Why aren't we privy to this information?" To which Naruto replied honestly, "Because it isn't any of your business." At this point everyone was pretty much shocked that Naruto would blatantly deny the council, but Koharu stood up next to Homura and angrily stated, Boy, you will not withhold information from the council. We order you to reveal any knowledge that we deem necessary. Naruto visibly sighed, making many in the room think he had given up and was going to tell only to get shocked as Naruto replied, "Make me," with his trademark smile. The room was dead silent, nobody really knowing what to say. Some were stunned and most were angry at the disrespect, but there was a few in the room that were trying their hardest to suppress a smile. The Sandaime quickly cleared his throat, gaining the attention of the room, not wanting the meeting to get out of hand, and said, "I do believe that Naruto is not going to be cooperative, so please move on to the next question." Sarutobi finished ignoring many of the questioning gazes that fell on him by letting such an important question go. Once again an awkward silence fell across the room until yet again Homura spoke up, "Naruto-san, how do you know the shadow clone technique?" Ignoring the looks of disbelief and awe coming from half the room, Naruto answered, "It was taught to me." Homura continued and asked, "Obviously you were taught the jutsu, but who taught it to you?" Naruto calmly answered, "One of my senseis." Homura was getting frustrated and growled out his next question, "Which sensei of yours taught you the jutsu?" Smiling at Homura's aggravation, Naruto answered, "The sensei skilled in the ninja arts." Homura, who was red in the face and had an eye twitching, basically screamed out, "What was your sensei's name?" But once again Naruto just continued to smile and replied, "None of your business." The Hokage, seeing how the conversation has turned, cleared his throat again, making a move-on gesture with his hand, all the while shaking his head at Naruto's childish behavior. This time there was no silence because Danzo stood up right away and asked, "You said one of my senseis in the earlier question. How many senseis did you have?" "I had 4 senseis and others who only taught me a thing or two," Naruto said. Satisfied with the answer, Danzo sat down while a civilian councilman stood up and asked, "Are you aware of your status in Konoha?" And before the Hokage could react in any way, Naruto quickly answered, "Do you mean my status as a human sacrifice?" The same councilman who was just saved a death sentence by Naruto, acknowledging that he was a demon container, said, "Yes," and sat back down. It was Sarutobi who asked the next question. "Why did you not inform anyone that you knew of the Kyuubi, Naruto?" Naruto remained silent for a moment but then spoke, "Because the Kyuubi is of no importance," his face void of any expression and his voice very serious. Many of the ninjas in the room contemplated Naruto's word, but one of the civilians took offense to the comment and made himself heard. "How dare you say such a thing? The Kyuubi was a monster that decimated most of our ninja troops. That despicable fox is of extreme importance." Naruto looked at the man who shouted out and replied, "Although the Kyuubi would find great joy in knowing that he holds a place in many people's hearts, he is, as I said, not important. The black marks on my face before I left belonged to the Kyuubi, but now the purple marks on my face belong to me." The room was silent again, everyone still confused with Naruto's word, not really understanding, but Shikaku, head of the Nara clan, whose genius surpassed his son's, gained a look of realization on his face and sat up straight for the first time in the meeting, startling his friends next to him, and stated, "So you're saying it's not the Kyuubi we should be worried about, it's you we should worry about?" Naruto's smile turned into a blood-lusting smirk and his amber eyes were filled with hate and a crazed look, which made many of the ninja tense in preparation for an attack, and the civilians cower. Enjoying the fear he caused, Naruto finally said, "Though in your statement is debatable, but you, Nara-san, have nothing to worry about. Despite you never helping me before, you also never hurt or looked down upon me, you were neutral and you still are. Besides, I just made friends with your son." Shikaku visibly relaxed, making most of the room confused by the whole show. But Sarutobi, being quick-witted himself, caught on to the meaning and decided to have a talk with Naruto. Also, Shibi, head of the Abramite clan, figured out the meaning of Naruto's word and his choice was to sit and observe, himself being a neutral like Shikaku. Most of the council, not really paying attention, missed the seriousness of Naruto's words and just continued on with the meeting as clueless as ever. A pink-haired lady stood up next, obviously related to the Genin Sakura, and said, "Uzumaki-san, months after you disappeared, the Uchiha clan massacre occurred. Did you help the S-class criminal Itachi Uchiha commit the murders?" Everyone looked at the pink-haired woman like she was stupid. Naruto looked at her with both raised eyebrows and asked, "You do realize that when I left I was 6 years old, right?" To which she replied, "Yes, I am aware now. Answer the question." Naruto shook his head in disgust. "No, I had nothing to do with the Uchiha clan slaughter." The Hokage stood up and asked, "Is that all?" But apparently there was more, since Danzo stood up once again and stated, "This is the last question, Hokage-sama. Naruto-san, I have a report that says you threatened 5 of your fellow Konoha nin with death, is that true?" Naruto was honestly wondering when this question would come up, but answered anyway, "Maybe, but the personal problems between ninjas does not fall under the jurisdiction of the council." And before the council got out of hand again, Sarutobi stood up and addressed the room. "That will be all, and none of you need to worry. Naruto is my personal ninja, and as such he is under my watchful eye. If the time comes that Naruto steps over the line, I will be there to handle him myself. Now you're all dismissed." Just like that, the meeting was over and the ninjas poofed away or left in the Konoha body flicker. But right before Naruto flickered out of the room, he saw Danzo staring intently at him with Hayate by his side. Isolated training ground number 33. As Naruto arrived, he looked around and spotted a flash of red in the trees and signaled for her to come down. Jumping out of the trees, Naruto noticed 2 figures on both sides of her, but instead of being on guard, Naruto smiled, surprised that they made it here in less time than he thought. "It's nice to see you two so soon," Naruto remarked, looking at the 2 who wore identical traveler cloaks and straw hats that cover most of their facial features. The only things you could really see was the black hair that was tied into a spiky ponytail on the traveler on the right and the whitish-gray hair much like Naruto's on the other traveler. The traveler on the left looked up, exposing teal eyes, and said, "It is a pleasure to see you," to Naruto-sama. The traveler on the right rolled his eyes, showing them to be a dark gray, and said, "I tried to break him out of that habit, Naruto, but as you can see it didn't work." The teal-eyed traveler, who looked and sounded to be about a year older than Naruto, narrowed his eyes at his companion and stated, "I owe Naruto-sama my life, and I will forever show my gratitude by serving him and giving him the appropriate respect he deserves." The gray-eyed traveler, who was the same age as his partner, just waved off his companion's speech and turned to Naruto, saying, "He always says that whenever I try to get him to call you Naruto." Naruto, who was now standing next to his personal red-haired Anbu, sweat dropped and said, "Well, it's kind of weird, but I understand where he's coming from and it feels good to be respected like that." The gray-eyed teen just sighed while his friend just stood straighter, happy that he made Naruto-sama feel good, while Naruto cleared his throat and looked at his Anbu. "Okay, Red-chan, what's the daily report on Konoha?" Naruto said, slightly laughing. "Now she'll think before calling me cute." The newly dubbed Red-chan twitched but answered anyway, "So far everything is going as planned. No one has made any connections to the recent deaths, they think it's just coincidence. Also, I took the liberty of doing a little information gathering on the 5 you have personally targeted, and Kurenai had a training session with Hinata-san and also gave a lecture about always being on guard even when in the safety of Konoha." Hinata-san listened politely despite the obvious confusion on her face about the particular subject. Kakashi was also training Sasuke-san, seemingly trying to get Sasuke-san to activate his Sharingan. Guy was brooding in his house, most likely depressed by his little show earlier with his student. And Hayate was seen walking and talking to Danzo. Asuma, after leaving the mission, entered the Sarutobi estate and did not come out, and I have a name that you can use, Naruto-kun. Naruto took in all her words and laughed a little at the end, but still turned to the traveling pair and asked, "Alright guys, what's going on outside these gates?" Before the pair could talk, the teal-eyed teen just phased out of existence and several moments later phased back into the clearing, throwing what looked like an Anbu agent on the floor. Everyone looked down at the agent and noticed his blank mask with the word "Nay" printed on the top of the mask. The teal-eyed male growled out, "Scum, who sent you to spy on Naruto-sama?" The agent just stated in an empty voice sounding already dead, "On orders of Danzo-sama, I have come to execute Naruto Uzumaki the Kyuubi." Now Danzo might think that having an army of emotionless soldiers was a good idea, but spending so much time on suppressing emotions and turning them into strict by the rules ninja, Danzo neglected to teach his ninja not to speak of their objective when captured or before they finish their mission. Naruto just sighed and held out his hand in a fist, pointing it to the agent, and started gathering yellow energy until it covered his whole hand. Feeling he had enough kai in his hand, he started to pour a little bit of his yukai into his hand, resulting in purple glow that surrounded the ball of energy until it basically sunk into his hand, making the ball of energy look like a light brownish color. Naruto's hand started shaking and he was having trouble with containing the power, but then he opened his hand, releasing what he called the Chioukai blast at point-blank range, completely obliterating the agent, leaving nothing but ash on the floor. The black-haired traveler was confused. Hey Naruto, why was that technique giving you problems when I saw you do things that should be impossible before? Naruto sighed while rubbing his hand and answered, because chi energy and Yukai are absolutely different essences, with chi energy being more forceful and would leave you with broken bones or some burn marks, but Yukai is more poisonousness and would dissolve anything it touches with its acidic nature. So putting them together, creating the Chioukai blast, is very powerful but also extremely difficult, which is why you won't see me do it in battle. I just did it now cause I wanted a clean death with no evidence. The gray-eyed traveler nodded in understanding while the others were not very surprised, since being with Naruto shows you that he can do the impossible and make it seem easy. Anyway, before we were interrupted, I was asking about the goings-on outside of Konoha, said Naruto. The pair nodded and the teal-eyed teen spoke up. The only thing worth mentioning, Naruto-sama, is that 9 S-class criminals have banded together creating a group, but as of now they have no name. Also, all the members of this group have special abilities that no one else possesses, which makes them highly dangerous and unpredictable if you don't know their ability. We also don't know their objective. All we know is that they're starting to take the most dangerous missions for less pay than the ninja villages. Naruto looked on in thought, wondering if this little group would cause problems for him, but motioned for the black hair of the pair to continue, which he did. Also, I have news regarding 2 of the legendary Sannin. Orochimaru the Snake Sannin has started his own village and he calls it the Sound Village. Most of the citizens are orphans or low-class missing nins. Also, the snake was last seen on his way to Suna, probably looking for a treaty. Jiraiya the Toad Sannin, who has his own spy network, found out about my spy network and managed to capture one of my informants, tickling information out of him. But don't worry, the only piece of info he got was that even though I run the network, I still report to someone else, and he traced it here to Konoha, so he might not be suspicious and just think it's the Hokage trying to start up a new network, the black-haired traveler reported. Naruto stood in silence, digesting all the info he received, and after a minute of no talking, Naruto finally spoke up. Okay, well, for now forget about that group and forget about Jiraiya. What I want to know is, do we know anyone that lives in Sound? The gray-eyed boy answered. As a matter of fact, the boy we saved from getting raped near the border of the mist is residing in Sound, but I don't exactly know his position in the Sound standings. Naruto smiled and looked at the black-haired teen and said, oh yes, I remember Zaku. Okay, then I want you Twinkle Toes to go back out and mange your network while trying to get info from Zaku. Since you helped save him, I don't doubt that he'll be cooperative with you. The black-haired Twinkle Toes developed a twitching eye and snarled, don't call me that, Naruto. But Naruto just ignored him and laughed along with Red Chan and the teal-eyed traveler. After calming down, Naruto looked at the other of the pair and said, I'll need you to stay here. Don't worry about your partner Twinkle Toes, he's the fastest person I know. So you'll need an Enbu outfit like Red Chan. I don't care how you get it, just don't leave any evidence. You're going to be sorta like my bodyguard. I don't want nay soldiers jumping out at me while I am with my team or new friends, okay? The new bodyguard closed his teal eyes and bowed while saying, of course, Naruto-sama. That's all for now. I'll be expecting you in a few days, Twinkle Toes, and I'll see you tomorrow, Red Chan and bodyguard. Naruto said, disappearing in his feathered whirlwind, leaving 2 people grumbling at their little nicknames while the other stood tall and proud now that he was Naruto-sama's bodyguard. It has been a long 4 months since the council meeting where Naruto humiliated the elders, and many things have happened in the 4-month time frame. D-ranked missions came and went, with Naruto occasionally not doing anything if the client so much as sneered in his direction. Also, the suspected favoritism of Hinata from Kurenai became apparent as Kurenai frequently took Hinata to train by themselves. Shino, keeping a cool head, politely asked Kurenai why he and Naruto were being ignored in favor of Hinata, only to receive the answer that Kurenai had no idea how to teach an Abramai and that Naruto seemed powerful enough, which leads Shino to stop calling her sensei and lead Hinata to find her inner Hyuga, making her just like her cousin Neji. But Shino was not fazed by not training with his assigned sensei, since him and the other guys learned a lot under the tutelage of Naruto. Shino hadn't changed a lot but discovered he had a very unusual affinity for lightning. It was so concentrated that the bugs in his body actually fed off of it instead of being damaged by it, which saved Shino chakra when he needs it. Also, since practicing so many lightning techniques that Naruto gave him, his hair, instead of being an afro puff, actually spiked up, reminding Naruto of Goku's Super Saiyan hair. Shikamaru didn't change much as well. He was still lazy but will take many by surprise if he ever took off his weights. Also he took to a weapon called the chain and sickle, saying that it gave his shadow more range and extra holding power if he had to restrain a powerful foe. But other than that, Shikamaru also created some new shadow techniques for his clan. Choji had taken to wearing an armor similar to his father's and started to carry around a metal bow that seemed harmless, but in Choji's hands with his strength it was truly a weapon to be feared. Despite still being the slowest due to his weight, Choji more than made up for it with his strength, and he also learned many jutsus from his father as well. Lee changed the most, discarding his leotard for black boots with black ninja pants and a matching black tank top, clearly showing off his muscular arms and chest. He also wore black fingerless gloves that had little spikes on the knuckles, since he still learned taijutsu from Guy but only during team trainings, and had a long sheathed katana strapped securely on his back, accompanied by a small kodachi strapped to his waist. His thick eyebrows were trimmed and his bull-style hair was now straightened hair that fell over one of his eyes, making him look positively badass. Naruto was proud of the progress he made with his 4 new friends, but was even more happier that he was able to spend time with his precious people. After spending time with Ibiki, Naruto was able to convince him to teach him a little bit of interrogation, and Naruto secretly knew that those techniques and jutsu would immensely help him in the future if need be. Although not being able to learn from Sarutobi anything new, Naruto was able to prove his innocence when he was a suspect for the continuous murder of Konoha citizens and ninja, when the murders stopped being a coincidence and turned into a full-blown investigation. But Naruto's best and worst time was spent with Anko, just hanging out at her favorite dango shop or just strolling around the Forest of Death talking about Anko's life when he left. Naruto still had a crush on Anko that soon turned into attraction and a great like for her, but was greatly hurt when she never showed any romantic feelings for him. But despite her never returning his feelings, Naruto still enjoyed their time together, promising to himself not to ruin their friendship by confessing to her and making things awkward. Today was a regular day for Naruto. Right now he was on his way for lunch with Anko since Kurenai gave him and his teammates a day off. He still wore his black ninja pants but now had on a button-down black shirt that was unbuttoned, still showing off his body, but he wore the shirt cause in the restaurant they would refuse him service if he came without one. Running his hand through his hair, Naruto entered the restaurant looking for the familiar purple hair of his Anko-chan. Seeing exactly what he was looking for, Naruto approached the table and sat down in front of her. "Hello Anko-chan," Naruto said, only to frown at the nervous and sort of worried expression on her face. Anko looked at Naruto with her conflicted expressions and replied, "Oh hey Naruto, hope you're really hungry." Naruto didn't like the uneasiness in her voice and shifted in his seat, only to realize that they were sitting at a 4-person table instead of the regular 2-person table. Now this wasn't weird, since when the restaurant is empty Anko would sit here and prop her legs up on the extra seats, but today the restaurant was pretty full. But he just pushed that little bit of observation to the side and addressed Anko again. "I am a bit hungry, but is there something wrong Anko-chan?" If possible, her troubles seemed to multiply, but she answered anyway, saying, "Nothing's wrong Naruto, just anxious for my food to get here, that's all." Naruto nodded, not wanting to push it even though he knew she was lying, since Sesshomaru and the Shodown taught him how to read people, and Anko probably had so much on her mind that she forgot to conceal her emotions like a real ninja should. But Naruto again pushed his thoughts to side and merely watched Anko worry over whatever was on her mind. After 3 or 4 minutes of watching Anko sweat, he saw her eyes go wide and she started to say something, but Naruto silenced her with narrowed eyes and quick burst of killing intent. Ignoring the slight bit of hurt on her face, Naruto silently seethed in his chair. As soon as he saw her eyes widened, Naruto had felt the 2 chakra signatures coming toward their direction and recognized them instantly. I mean seriously, how could he forget his so-called sensei's and her boyfriend's signature? And sure enough, Kurenai came toward the table alongside Asuma, who was carrying a tray of food with enough for 3 people, conveniently leaving Naruto out. As they sat down, they made sure to sit as close to Anko as possible, as if Naruto had some contagious disease that affects the air around him. Putting the tray aside for the girls can grab their food, Asuma looked at Naruto and smugly said, "Sorry about that, we knew you were coming but just didn't know what you wanted." Naruto looked at Anko, who had her head down. "Anko knows my favorite foods," she probably told him, and he purposely didn't get it, or maybe she said nothing, Naruto thought, finally taking his eyes off of Anko and looking Asuma straight in the eye, and replied, "No problem, I wasn't all that hungry, I just came to hang out with Anko, although I didn't know you two would be here." Asuma continued, "Really, I thought you and Anko were close, why wouldn't she tell you?" "I have no idea, but you're free to ask her since she is sitting right next to you." said Naruto, now looking at Anko curious as to why she would do this to him. Asuma turned toward Anko's smug grin, still present, obviously enjoying himself immensely, and asked, Anko, why didn't you inform him about us joining your little lunch out? Anko still had her head down picking at her rice and quietly said, because I knew Naruto would not come if I told him beforehand. Naruto was starting to get upset. This was not the Anko he knew. Usually Anko was loud, confident, and didn't take shit from anybody, but this woman in front of him was shy and meek, letting Asuma make a fool out of him and herself. Asuma put on a fake face of hurt while turning toward Naruto and saying in an obvious fake sad voice, and why wouldn't you come, Naruto, if we were here? Now Naruto is not one to hold his tongue, but he paused to look again at Anko, who was now looking at him with shame clear in her eyes. So she's ashamed. About what though? Is she ashamed of me? Or how this dead man is treating me? But still, why? Finishing his quick thought process, Naruto was ready to retort, but Kurenai was quicker than him and elbowed Asuma in the ribs, giving him a look that said to stop, only to have Asuma narrow his eyes at her, but he stopped nonetheless. So for most of the meal, Kurenai and Anko spoke about trivial things while Asuma spent his time sending subtle killing intent at Naruto, who just blankly looked at him, not affected at all. Kurenai turned towards Naruto, feeling bad about this whole thing, tried to engage him in conversation. So Naruto, I noticed that you and Shino seem to get along, and Shino looks much stronger. What do you two do? Why don't you ask Shino? Said Naruto, not really caring for the topic. Kurenai lowered her head in what looked like embarrassment and said, well, I did when I saw him in the street, and he politely told me to mind my business, saying I wasn't his sensei, so I had no use for the knowledge of his life. Naruto chuckled and thought, Shino is definitely trustworthy. His answer is my own, Kurenai, said Naruto, still chuckling. That's Kurenai's sensei to you, Brad, don't you have any respect? Growled Asuma. Anko, slowly returning to her normal self throughout the conversation, interrupted with a quick question, are you sure you're not hungry, Naruto? You can have some of my dango, waving her dango stick in the air. Asuma, not liking that he was disrupted, added, yay Naruto, here, have some of my rice, and proceeded to scrap some rice off his plate to the floor. Asuma looked back at Naruto with a nasty grin on his face. There you go, eat up, I put plenty, and I even wanted you to feel comfortable since dogs love to eat off the floor, or maybe it's foxes that eat off the floor. Anko looked furious while Kurenai was wide-eyed looking at Asuma, who wore a triumphant smirk, and to make matters worse he lit up a cigarette, noticing how Naruto's eyes followed it, and said, what brings back memories, boy? Naruto sat stoically, his face not betraying anything, although his amber eyes flamed with madness and insanity. He looked at Anko for some reassurance, but she was staring at Asuma wide-eyed and mouth agape. Naruto could feel his demonic pride calling for the death of the wrongdoer, but tried his hardest to relax himself, but seeing Asuma sit there looking so freaking proud of himself riled up his Spartan pride, and without knowing it, Naruto's left arm began to glow yellow with specks of blue chakras swirling around it. Everyone at the table, even Asuma, looked on in wonder as Naruto's arm continued to glow. Kurenai looked scared, remembering her own incident and fearing for whatever Asuma was going to get, while Anko looked entranced by the display of power. Even Asuma had a slight feeling of fear creep up on him until he ruthlessly squashed it and reminded himself that he was an experienced Junin and Naruto was just a kid. The whole restaurant was now looking quietly, eagerly waiting for whatever was gonna happen, and was not disappointed when Naruto abruptly stood up, nearly knocking over the whole table, making Asuma tense in preparation for an attack. But Naruto just looked at Anko and quietly said, how could you? And walked out of the establishment with a frantic Anko running after him. Anko was only a few steps behind Naruto, about to get his attention, when he suddenly put his glowing arm in the air, and with his regular arm he put his pointer and middle finger to his forehead, muttering something under his breath, and he just phased out of existence, shocking the hell out of Anko. She then walked back into the restaurant, glaring angrily at the smirking Asuma, and heatedly said, I can't believe you're so cruel. I don't even know why you dislike Naruto so much. Nobody from the Sarutobi clan died during the Kyuubi attack, neither did any of your friends, so why are you such a... Asuma straightened up, trying to be intimidating, and replied, my reasons are my own, Anko, so mind your business if you know what's good for you. Instantly the regular Anko reappeared, no longer suppressed by the need to be civil. Listen Junin, don't you dare forget who your superior is. You can't hold a candle to me at all, and if you so much as look at Naruto wrong in my presence again, I'll skin you alive and feed you to my snakes. You'll be in so much pain that not even what you did to Naruto could compare. said Anko with a cold smile on her face, looking exactly like the most sadistic kunoichi in Konoha that she was. Asuma was fuming but wisely kept his mouth shut, knowing that if it came to blows Anko would surely wipe the floor with him. She was a special Junin after all, and Asuma hated the fact that a woman could be stronger than him. Most of the kunoichi in Konoha were strong in their own right, but they all had attitude to go along with it except for Kurenai, which is why he was with her, because she was easily intimidated and did everything he asked her to do, and that made Asuma feel good since in his mind men were above women in every way. So having Anko threaten him and also knowing that she could back it up put a huge dent in Asuma's pride. And if there's one thing a man treasures most, it's his pride, so Asuma was going to get even one way or another. Anko, oblivious to Asuma's inner monologue, rounded on Kurenai with disappointment rather than anger in her eyes and spat out. "And you, Night-chan, I trusted that you would at least be able to make sure he behaves, but I was wrong. You didn't even do anything besides a elbow in the ribs. No wonder why he never takes you serious. Open your eyes, Night-chan. I would hate to see what would happen in the future." And with that, Anko stormed out of the restaurant to continue her Naruto hunt, while Asuma got a pretty good idea of how to get even. Meanwhile, Naruto had just appeared on top of the Hokage faces and turned around to face the trees, still furious. As soon as he looked at the trees, two figures jumped out of them, standing in front of Naruto like soldiers awaiting commands. "Red-chan, bodyguard, tonight we're going to be busy and I want a pouch full of exploding tags," said Naruto. Bodyguard nodded, but Red-chan, who knew it was not the time to complain about her nickname, asked, "Why exploding tags, Naruto-kun?" To which Naruto replied, "To make a statement, and if I am reported to the Hokage, it was a harmless prank with dud tags, get it?" With a smirk on his face, proud of his simple yet genius plan. "Who is the target, Naruto-sama?" asked Bodyguard. "The 5 untouchables," replied Naruto. "I thought it would just be Asuma after what he did," stated Red-chan. "Don't worry, Asuma is definitely first, but the other 4 don't take me serious, and I think it's time to show them that I hold their lives in my hand," Naruto said, looking a little evil. "How do they not take you serious, Naruto-sama?" asked Bodyguard, not knowing how anyone on earth could think his Naruto-sama was a joke. Naruto had to restrain himself from rolling his eyes. Bodyguard's hero worship could be tiring at times. "Well, Asuma dares to mock me while Kakashi totally disregards me. Hayate is unknown, although I am sure he is still plotting my demise with Danzo, and then there is Kurenai, who's living her life as if I am just her student and not her future killer. Guy I am not too sure about since I do not see him as much, but I do hear from Lee that he has regained himself somewhat," said Naruto. "Guy blames you for the change of his student, Naruto-kun," informed Red-chan. "Okay, that's nice. Anyway, you know the basic of what we're going to do, but Red-chan, I want you to go after Kakashi since I am sure you'll appreciate that, and Bodyguard, I want you after Hayate. Think of it as a lesson since I don't want you to hesitate, being that you and Hayate used to share the same disease, so no sympathy, got it?" stated, asked Naruto. To which they both saluted and chorused, "Yes sir." They probably rehearsed that, making Naruto smile at them, glad to know that on some level they were still having fun and not being completely mindless tools. "Bodyguard, you're dismissed. Gather what we need and meet back here at 1 AM, understand?" commanded Naruto. Bodyguard nodded and vanished, leaving the two alone. Naruto turned towards Red-chan, causing her to sigh since she knows exactly what this was about, being that he hasn't given up for like 2 months already, so she quickly raised a hand, effectively stopping Naruto from talking, and responded, "Sorry Naruto-kun, but I still have no information regarding your newest target." Naruto sighed and his shoulders slumped while saying weakly, "At least don't call her a target. I mean, I don't want to kill her or anything like that, I just want to know her." Although hidden behind her lion mask, Red-chan's face was filled with grief and sorrow as she despondently replied, "Your mother doesn't exist in Konoha, Naruto-kun, and I tried my hardest to find out anything, but it's obvious that the Yondaime kept his relationship extremely tight-lipped. The Sandaime has to know something. He's the Hokage, for goodness sake," shouted Naruto. Red-chan watched Naruto mutter angrily to himself as he paced back and forth, and she honestly felt bad cause she knew that his search was pointless. If only you knew, Naruto-kun, she thought to herself. Finally Naruto relaxed enough to speak normally again and said, "Really, the old man has to know something, so you can stop trying and I'll take matters into my own hands. You're dismissed, and don't forget about tonight." Red-chan only nodded and disappeared in a poof of smoke, leaving Naruto all alone, not really knowing what to do now. Looking up at the sun, Naruto concluded that it was about 2 or 2:30, having more than enough time to kill, so he jumped off of the faces and walked around town, successfully avoiding Anko, who was still on her search. But after 30 minutes of nothing but walking around, Naruto grew very bored and decided to head home. And it was on his way home that he felt at a small but to his senses a noticeable flare of yukai. So there's a demon in Fire Country. Every demon knows this is my territory, so either it's important news or a glory-seeking demon with a death wish, Naruto thought to himself. As for the second time today, Naruto put his pointer and middle finger to his forehead, muttering a quick, instant transmission, and phased right off the streets to the location of the demon. Naruto appeared in a very small clearing surrounded by thick foliage and stood up straight, his posture signifying absolute royalty, and scanned the small space. Seeing nothing out of the ordinary, Naruto spoke, "Reveal yourself." His voice strong, not wavering, and face completely blank. Nothing happened. No one stepped out or made any indication that they were there, so Naruto knew he had to push the envelope and proceeded to flood the entire area in his killing intent, just enough to send a full-grown man to his knees, and shouted out, "Do not test my patience, trespasser." Instantly laughter was heard all around the clearing when two figures materialized about 5 feet away from Naruto. The figure laughing was a teenager who was sleek and slim, wearing a plain purple robe that fit snugly on his body with oily black hair that cascaded down his back. The boy was deathly pale but handsome, with fangs clearly showing in his mouth as he laughed. Finally, as the laughter subsided, the boy opened his eyes, revealing snake-like yellow eyes with slit pupils. "See my little weasel? Did I not tell you that our no-tail canine plays his role well when defending his land?" The boy dressed in purple said to his companion, who was also dressed in a plain yellow kimono with brown hair that had yellow streaks in it and went to her shoulder blades. Her eyes a chocolate brown and her skin a nice shade of tan. She was very attractive but wore a stern expression on her face. "Indeed, he seems to know the guidelines, but with killing intent like that he would lose ownership of his land in less than a decade," the girl replied to the boy. Naruto looked at the two, sighed, then smiled. "Orochi, my good friend, it has been too long. I see you have a new playmate. Are you parading her around, introducing her to the lords of the lands?" said Naruto with a smirk on his face. The no-named Orochi chuckled at this, while the girl grew extremely angry as she spat out, "How dare you, filthy no-tail! I am Raiju the six-tailed weasel, and I am no one's playmate. You will do good to remember that. Watch your tongue, silly girl, for I knew the Rokubi, and he was a man of great power, a true god of thunder, and a man of excellent wisdom. Do not sully his good name by pretending to be something you're not," countered Naruto, anger showing on his face. Orochi quickly interrupted, Now Naruto, calm yourself so I can introduce Rokubi's daughter Raiju, who has just recently gained her 6th tail, making her an equal with her father despite her lack of experience. So my father Hachibi has asked me to show her all the lords and powerful demons that she will be possibly working with in the future." Raiju snorted and snidely said, and after he was done he decided to show me his sideshow freak friend. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Raiju's behavior and turned to Orochi, "Are you sure this is Rokubi's daughter? Because from what I remember, Rokubi was humble, respectful and modest even to me when I was just learning about my demonic abilities. In fact, he was the most liked of the original 9. Orochi shrugged. "When I told her that I would introduce her to the Lord of Fire Country, she was pretty excited, even asking questions about you, but when she found out you had no tails she just lost interest and didn't want to come," he said. "Orochi, can we please go? Your friend Naruto doesn't have much to offer. This is such a waste of time," said Raiju nastily. Naruto looked at her sharply. "That is Lord Uzumaki to you, 6 tails, and you will show me the proper respect when you're a guest on my land. Please, you tailless fleabag, the only thing stopping me from destroying your precious land is my respect for the 8 tails standing beside me," said Raiju haughtily with a challenging smirk played across her face. Naruto chuckled, but it sounded hollow and sort of creepy, and said, "You're welcome to a fight whenever you want, and don't let Orochi stop you. As a matter of fact, Orochi could help you, and when it's all done I'll be keeping your coveted tails as rewards." Raiju looked horrified that Naruto would even think of challenging a 6 and 8 tails by himself, and as she went to correct him, Orochi grabbed her, looking at her angrily, and hissed, "Enough of your foolishness, weasel. This fleabag, as you called him, defeated your father in battle and defeated me and my own father in combat. He absorbed the original Kyuubi, gaining its powers added to his own. There is no way you would be able to beat him, especially when he has the support of all the demons you just met and those you can only meet if Naruto introduces you." Raiju looked at Naruto with grudging respect but said nothing else. Orochi looked triumphant while Naruto just shook his head saying, well, it seems my luck with women aren't going to change anytime soon. Oh, are we talking of the human female you were infatuated with? Asked Orochi with curiosity shining in his eyes. Although Raiju did not speak, she too was curious. Naruto sighed and his shoulders slumped visibly. Yes, but she has done something terrible to me, so I don't think we will be together as I had hoped. Orochi looked at Naruto sadly and said, I will never understand your little obsession with humans, Naruto. They're nothing but selfish creatures, but I hope everything turns out good for you. Thank you for your well wishes, Orochi. Is there anything else I can do for you besides this tour? Asked Naruto. Actually, the original Yanbi has gone missing, said Orochi. Naruto looked confused. The hybrid? Last time it was in a human host, much like the Kyuubi was. Yes, but its human host has disappeared and the Yanbi has yet to return to the demonic plane. The host was seen carried off by a human shark, so some of the higher-ups asked the Sanbi clan if they were involved, but they refused and also had alibis, so they had to leave them alone, said Orochi. Naruto sighed, sorry my friend, the hybrid hasn't stepped foot in my country, but I will keep my senses sharp in case it does. Also, I'll look into this human shark, but if this walking shark isn't demonic and instead just a weird human like the snake fanatic Orochimaru, what would you like me to do? Well, if it's a human, then get the information on why he wants the Yanbi and kill the human, simple as that. Oh, and by that, some of my lower clansmen informed me that my fangirl is up to something and is very excited. They only got pieces of info whenever he summoned them, but just be wary, you never know what he might do, said Orochi, smiling at the fangirl part. Naruto laughed, thanks for the advice my friend, but I got to go now, and Raiju, it was nice to meet you. With a nod of both of their heads, Orochi and Raiju disappeared as if they were never there in the first place. A human shark shouldn't be too hard to find, but what is the Sannin planning? I know he has a new village and was last seen heading to Suna, but Twinkle Toes still hasn't returned with his information on Zaku, and this worries me a little. What's so special about Suna when there's Kumo, Mist and Iwa around? Not to mention the smaller nations. I'll think more on this later, Naruto thought while using the instant transmission once again. Appearing in his bedroom, looking at the clock on the wall, noticing that he still had a couple of hours until his prank was to be put in place. What should I do now? In times like this I wish I hadn't absorbed the Kyuubi, then I would have someone to talk to all the time, but it's his fault anyway for getting a high and mighty attitude with Sesshomaru, Naruto thought. Finally, after a couple of minutes of looking around the room, Naruto decided a nap was in order and threw himself down on his bed, relishing in the feeling of drifting off to dreamland. Hokage faces. It was now 1 a.m. and Naruto was patiently waiting for his companions to arrive. He was in a very relaxed mood cause of his earlier nap. The feeling of concentrated chakra caught his attention as dual puffs of smoke appeared in front of Naruto, revealing his most trusted Red Chan and his most loyal bodyguard who was carrying the supplies. Naruto-kun, each of our targets are soundly asleep in their own homes, which leaves me to believe there is something important going on tomorrow, and from my intelligence there are no specific holidays or special events going on tomorrow, said Red Chan, excitement clearly in her voice. Naruto nodded. Okay, cool, don't worry about tomorrow, but remember who you're targeting. Red, you get Kakashi and Kurenai, and my guard gets Hayate while I handle Asuma and Guy. They both nodded while the bodyguard handed out several exploding notes to his boss and his friend. Before they could leave, Naruto held a handout, gaining their attention. I would like you to place the tags on significant parts of your target and also leave a note that lets them know it was me, but don't write my name on it, stated Naruto. Once again they both nodded, but Naruto interrupted again, asking, oh, before I forget, do any of you know anything about a walking shark? Kisame Hoshigaki S-class criminal, also known as the Scourge of the Hidden Mist, was once a part of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. He is blue in appearance and has the gills and teeth a shark would and carries around a sword covered in scales that he calls Samahata, answered bodyguard. Naruto looked at him weirdly. That's a pretty detailed description. He took part of the bloodline purges in Mist, so I should know everything about the swordsman group. Naruto-sama, anyway, he is the only person I've ever seen that resembles a shark, said bodyguard. I apologize for my forgetfulness of your history, and I'm sorry that you're the last of your clan, apologized Naruto. Bodyguard shook his head, sending gray hair flying. No need, Naruto-sama, my clan was foolish and bloodthirsty enough to try and fight the Mist government. I'm grateful you and that woman saved me and cured me of my illness. I thank Kami-sama for that medical woman and you Naruto-sama every day of my life. Naruto stifled his laughter. Well, at least he thanked the right person. Kami would hate to have no credit after helping him. Okay, let's get started. After you're done, don't return here. We'll meet tomorrow at the training ground. And with that, the three disappeared to get started on the harmless prank.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.